it's not. It's not on my neck. And we're live streaming, everyone. Thank you, Justin. Amanda, I'm going to check with you in a second, see if the county executive is here. But before we begin, point of privilege, I'm going to recognize Delegate Guyton for a moment. Delegate Guyton.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, colleagues, for your support over the past several days. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I'm sorry, I haven't slept for a couple of days. As you all are aware, my community in 42B, Cockeysville, Ashland, Phoenix, where I live, has been in a heightened state of fear, uncertainty for the past several days. And my staff, you all know Corey Johns and Caitlin Clem-Kellner, we have really been working around the clock to actively try and keep the constituents informed, to stay in close contact, and honestly, just to alleviate rumors and make sure that everyone is okay and felt safe and supported. But we are so grateful to the county executive's office. And I wanted to express my personal gratitude to County Executive Olszewski, because he had been willing during this crisis to answer my texts, to answer my calls, and to be in close and transparent contact with my office, to let us know and to let my constituents know what was happening during this really terrible tragedy and situation. I am so grateful to my constituents as well, who actually, many of them were displaced for hours, some overnight, from their homes during this really, really tense situation. And they listened to the police department. They listened to our instructions. They stayed at home. They sheltered in place. They kept their children safe, and they did not impede the police while they were trying to bring this to a peaceful resolution. So thank you, thank you, thank you to them. And then I think most of all, we all have to be so grateful to the Baltimore County Police Department and to our colleagues in Harford County who helped bring this to a semi-peaceful resolution early this morning at about 5:45, and to our state and our federal partners in this over these past 2 days. And you can tell I'm both very emotional and also very, very tired. But my constituents, my district is so grateful for all of you. And we are all praying for the officers who have been injured during this incident. And I want to say I fell asleep to the police scanner last night, and our Baltimore County Police could not have been more professional. They could not have been more calm, and they could have been more creative in how they were dealing with this issue. So thank you all. Please send your thoughts and your prayers to the 2 police officers who are injured, particularly the one that was shot yesterday. And I don't believe we can say their names at this point. I have spoken to one of them. The other one is in very, very serious condition. Certainly we'll analyze this situation in the future, but for now, we all just need to be grateful that it was resolved in the way that it was, and keep our thoughts and prayers with the officers' families. So thank you so much, colleagues, for this time. And I really appreciate your support over the past few days, and so do my constituents.
Thank you, Delegate Guyton. We're happy to see you here and happy to see you in as good a shape as you can be. I'm going to check in with Amanda. Do we have a county executive in one of the Hollywood squares yet for us?
Not yet, but he should be here shortly. I apologize.
All right, we're gonna. Everybody can just turn off your cameras. We're gonna wait a minute or two. Amanda, you're pretty certain we'll be. I could move to some other business. Unless you feel like he'll be here in like 2 minutes, then we'll just hold out.
He should be here in 2 minutes.
Okay, with that, that was an estimate, not
Yes.
I'm not going to hold you to it. I was wondering if it was 5 or 10, we could have done a little business, but we'll hold on for him to arrive.
Nope, he should be here any second. Thank you.
All right, kick back, everybody. Smoke a cigar, whatever you do. Okay.
Well, who's you got him? Thanks, sir. Have a good one. Yeah.
My inside sources tell me we're just about ready to go. So if you're wandering around your office and not in front of your machine, you might want to start to wander back toward it. All right, I have the high sign. Thank you all for your patience, and I'm sure that the county executive will express a similar sentiment. Our county executive has been seeing a lot of him lately. We saw him here last week at the start of the Trade Point Atlantic presentation. Those of you who had a little spare time on Tuesday night got to see him in person at Harry Brown's. And now today we get to see him in a much more official capacity while he gives us a presentation about a little bit what's going on in Baltimore County. Mr. County Executive, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for the opportunity to join you all. I apologize for my tardiness. I both had technical difficulties, but more importantly, we, as you are all well aware, had a very serious incident that we were working through throughout the night. I first want to just thank, I actually just got the phone to the governor before I hopped on here. I want to thank the brave men and women of our department, and frankly, all of our allied agencies. We had incredible support through the last couple of days from all of you, but also from the state police, natural resources police, Hartford County Sheriff's Office, other local jurisdictions, It really was an all hands on deck, and really proud that we were able to get the suspect in custody. And frankly, to see last night at Shock Trauma, just the family that is law enforcement, particularly here in Baltimore County, rally around our officer who was shot. Happy.
He froze on everybody's screen.
He's not frozen, he's talking.
Do you still have me, Mr. Chairman? Sorry, I think I may have frozen up there.
Now we have you. Now we lost you for you were. It was a beautiful still photo of you, but we had you in that form for a little bit there.
Well, again, apologies, but officer was conscious and talking prior to being stabilized on life support. Fortunately, his vitals were stable throughout the night. He is actually in surgery this morning, repairing and stabilizing one of the gunshot wounds to his arm, but just surrounded by his family and his unit and others on the team. So he's got a long road ahead, lots of reconstruction to be done, but Dr. Scalia was confident and hopeful that he will survive, and so appreciate everyone's support, prayers, good thoughts. I'll actually be heading back up as soon as I'm done here to meet with the governor again, who will be up visiting with the family. I think we'll miss the officer who will still be in surgery, but that's about as good as an update as I think I have at this point. But happy to answer any questions about that incident as well, following the conclusion of this discussion. So again, thanks to you, Mr. Chairman, to our speaker, Madam Speaker, Adrian Jones, Vice Chair Jackson, and to all members for allowing me to join you this morning. Obviously, these last 4 years have been challenging and presented us with any number of unique challenges. Really grateful for the ways in which you all have been partners in the progress that we've been able to accomplish despite those challenges. And so, again, I'd like to just take a moment to welcome all the new members of the delegation, congratulate those who are returning, look forward to building that same level of collaboration in the second term, and was thrilled to have so many of you join us last week. I really am encouraged the fact that Governor Moore and I were in regular communication throughout this incident. I think speaks to the partnership that I hope to have. Could not be more ready to work with the new administration on behalf of you in Baltimore County, and looking forward to getting together. So, you all know that together we've done record investments in education, public safety, infrastructure, and more, and now we're ready to sort of build on that progress. So, by now, I think that my passion, my priority is always about education. This current fiscal year 23 budget, we have record funding for education for the fourth year in a row. This is a year-over-year increase of $91 million in the BCPS General Fund, and almost $100 million as well in new capital spending. We were encouraged and excited and appreciate that Governor Moore's budget has $500 million to extend and support the blueprint funding. And then as we continue to put up our local share, we are hopeful and appreciate the state supporting these critical investments so that this work can be supported for years to come. What we have said to our school system is that despite forecasts of economic uncertainty, we are promising and committing funding of at least $10 million above maintenance effort each year for each of the next 4 fiscal years. This comes on top of record maintenance effort increases in prior years. We've seen an enrollment reduction of almost 4,000 students from the pandemic. Those students are yet to re-enroll, and we have not seen those enrollment numbers bounce back. We'll keep working with the county council and all of you to develop a budget for education that funds and addresses the most pressing issues of the system, including student achievement and school safety, while also making sure that we're doing so responsibly for taxpayers. Meanwhile, on the capital side, we're doubling down on our historic long-term plan. And the My IPAS multi-year improvement plan for all schools is our roadmap for the next 14 years. It represents over $3 billion of investment. Really appreciate the ways in which the state has been a partner, whether it's through Build to Learn or the pass-through grants last year, some of the funding that's in place this year to really make this happen with historic local and state investments in school construction. I will say, just a note of caution, as you all are probably well aware, we're sort of being hit with a double whammy. We have the impact of supply chain constraints, and we also have inflation. So we're seeing inflation drive up our costs, and the supply chain impacts are driving up our costs. But we also are seeing that inflation numbers and interest rates have shrunk the amount of money that seems to be available through Build to Learn. So the dollars aren't going as far as they used to. So essentially, we're being pinched at both ends, but it just means that the partnership we have is all more critical. So really appreciate the supplemental capital grant that's really going to help us move forward this year. And any additional support in this space will be super helpful. So in that spirit of what we try to do, we've been, as you know, we're doing our town halls, and I know some of you have been able to stop by. I know it's hard because you're in session. We've really been trying to open up county government to be accessible. And in that spirit, we also support the regular efforts from the Maryland Association of Counties. One of the top priorities this year is to basically ask for local governments as a major funder and contributor to our school system to have the same level of insight and accountability and transparency on school spending that's going to be made available to our accountability and implementation board. We talked about this on Tuesday, but our infrastructure and our wastewater, education is obviously important, but it doesn't end there. So we're really trying to prioritize transformative capital projects in the years ahead. Last week, we were thrilled to announce a really important step to move forward on modernizing one of our region's most unresolved infrastructure needs, which is our drinking and wastewater utilities. These systems, as I've said multiple times, are operating under an agreement older than both Mayor Scott and myself, 1972. They simply don't reflect the incredible growth patterns and changes we've seen over the last 50 plus years. It's not reflective of modern governance practices. So we are really grateful for all of you who are supporting our efforts to have a task force on regional water and wastewater, especially with thank Delegation Chair Sidnor and Eversol for their support and commitment to helping lead implement this really transformative legislation. It's going to help us make recommendations to modernize the governance, which again hasn't been changed in decades or looked at even. So we want to make sure that we are looking at management practices, operation, building, capital planning, rate stability, all of that's in there. So again, thank you all for your interest and your support of this critical legislation, ensuring that we in Baltimore County, as a 50-50 partner in the funding of both the capital and operating costs, have a bigger seat at the table. But of course, working in collaboration with our partners in the city so that we can chart a path forward to actually have those changes implemented. Obviously, as you know, it's enshrined in state law, so it will require partnership with all of you, our colleagues in the city, and legislators across the state. On other additional capital investments, we were thrilled to join Speaker Jones and many others, many of you, to announce a combined $20 million investment for Security Square Mall. We turned that in part to purchase former Sears property, which is now 18 acres of county-owned property, which is really jump-starting conversations for revitalization there. We recently completed our first ever charrette process on that site to bring folks together. One of our asks this year was $5 million in funds to continue investing in infrastructure improvements to begin that revitalization. We appreciate the $1 million that was given to us in Governor Moore's budget submission. We look forward to working with all of you to hopefully find the rest of that funding. On the east side of Baltimore County, we're really excited and proud of the incredible economic revitalization we're seeing at Trade Point Atlantic. This means more than 12,000 jobs, as we talked about in the prior briefing, supporting everything from world-class businesses across the entire job spectrum. More than 12,000 jobs, and really opportunities to harness our offshore wind industry, revitalize our prestigious county shoreline, do great stuff. So We requested and we were thrilled to receive $9 million in state funds towards a new fire training academy and station, all the apparatus equipment to serve that incredible growth. Over in Lansdowne, we asked for $12 million towards the planning, design, and construction of a new library to provide that community with a 21st century library and replace the outdated building that was originally built back in 1966, certainly showing its signs of age. We are prepared to match any funding that the state provides towards the revitalization of this critical site. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in addition to these requests, we also strongly support Senator Kettleman's, Delegate Stein, Delegate Hardin, and Delegate Pasteur's efforts to seek additional capital funds for the Pikeville Armory. I believe that was a pre-authorization also supported. We're also committed to investing in community anchors in many other projects in your districts, including the Liberty Road Business Corridor, the Kaysville Fire Station, funding for our parking solar energy system, the capital cost of the connection, and then funds towards the design, planning, and potential acquisition of a multi-purpose sports facility. This is in addition to all of the individual projects that you all are working on through LBI's other initiative, but just want to thank you for your consideration of these requests as we are trying to invest and literally build a better, stronger Baltimore County. Another sort of key infrastructure item is transit, and it's really, as we think about building vibrant communities, it's reimagining how our residents get around. So this session, we're very proud to support the recommendations of the Baltimore Metropolitan Council to create the Greater Baltimore Transit Governance and Funding Commission. Try to say that 3 times backwards. I do want to thank Senator Washington, who joined DPWT Director D'Andrea Walker, who participated in the work group for finding a way forward on these issues, and we look forward to working with all of you to pass legislation in these spaces. Amid all these capital investments, we continue to expand opportunity for and to invest in our people. I'm thankful to all of you, as well as our county's anchor institutions and job centers, as we have created tens of thousands of jobs across a wide variety of entry points. We really are focused on doing more to help our residents and neighbors. So we're thrilled and supportive of the governor's efforts to include $171 million to permanently extend the EITC and child tax credit. At the same time, we also know that we have to make sure people have to have jobs. And if a person can find a job, doesn't have a way to get there, it doesn't do them any good. If they can't find affordable childcare, they'll never be able to get ahead. And if a student has a dream but can't afford the training, they'll be left behind. So we're really going all in on workforce. We're very proud of the Public Health Pathways Program, which is an innovative partnership between the county, UMD St. Joe Medical Center, and CCBC. We are putting forward ARPA funding. has put forward funding, and this is a full scholarship for financially vulnerable students and residents to participate in CCBC's Certified Nursing Assistant Program, eliminating the primary barrier to advancement. Graduates are guaranteed employment in Baltimore County, where they will continue their education in the practical nursing program. We're also giving a $1,000 a month stipend for those who enroll to help alleviate challenges like childcare, housing, transportation that might otherwise help them from prevent them from pursuing these dreams. CCBC and the hospital will also give wraparound services. So I'm very proud to have been for the House Government Operations Committee on this proposal. We've been asked to talk about it at the White House or the National Association of Counties. We just know that this is an opportunity, I think, where the state can help us replicate and expand it, not just in Baltimore County, but across Maryland. We also want to, we recognize we want to make sure that as we're expanding economic opportunity, we also want to make sure every family can find a safe place to call home. So we realized just how fragile housing was during the pandemic. So we created the county's first ever Department of Housing and Community Development during the pandemic. And as we move forward, we're thinking more broadly about how to meet the needs of all of our residents. Last month, locally, we announced a foundational legislative package that represents our latest steps in this work. It will create the county's first ever definition of vacant structure so that we can take action against blighted sites. We are updating construction policies on townhomes to increase the availability of more affordable homes. We're changing and modernizing our laws so that family members and seniors can have more opportunities to age in place to stay connected to their family. And finally, we're going to formally establish the Baltimore County Housing Opportunities Fund to support attainable units across our county. This will allow us not only to deposit $16 million of dedicated ARPA funding, but to also do things like, to the extent the state is thinking about that, considering the state to consider matching up to that $16 million, so that we can really transform Baltimore County's model into one of growth and inclusivity. So again, that's a high-level overview of where we are and what we're focused on this session. Really want to thank this delegation for its continued support and investment in Baltimore County's communities. I look forward to our partnership. And I know that we've had a number of our department leaders, including Director Hickey from Housing, to provide additional wisdom. And I hope that moving forward, you won't hesitate to call on those leaders to come present more specific details within their specific buckets of work. So you all are vital partners. I'm excited about what we've done, even more excited about what we've yet to do. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I am happy to take a few minutes of questions, although I have to leave briefly shortly to get back to Dr. Drummond, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. County Executive. And given the extraordinary circumstances, we understand that you'll need to be brief. We'll just take a handful of questions if any of the delegates have any. I don't see a hand up yet, so maybe you were very thorough, and we can just kind of let you off the hook and go take care of the, attend to the things and the people that you need to. I do have one. As I say, we're just going to take a handful here today to make sure that we don't make too big of an imposition on your time. Delegate Long.
Thank you. I'd just like to talk about my concerns about the way this board's being put together, the composition. From what I understand, there's only going to be a couple of people from Baltimore County, more from Baltimore City. I'm concerned because, we have more citizens in Baltimore County than we do in Baltimore City. So I think that we should have more representation representing us, putting this commission together. Also, it's in our backyard. What happened was in our backyard in Back River. So I'd like to ask you if what we can do if, whatever your suggestions are. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Delegate. I will say that the bill was subject of a lot of back and forth negotiation between the county, the city, and the state. I know the legislative process, so this was the consensus bill we were able to adopt in recognition of the fact that this is state law. We have a representative from the House and Senate, by the President, and Speaker of the House. Obviously, there's a big state investment, so there's interest there. The governor would be appointing, I believe, 3 members, and then we likewise get several members. I know it's 2 less than the city in the draft legislation. It's reflective of the fact that it is a city-owned system, even though we are responsible for funding half of it. And obviously, it's a system that includes Back River, and like you delegate toward it, saw it, but we have it's a system that's much larger than that. So certainly, defer to the wisdom of the legislature as that process plays out. If they feel like there are changes needed. I think what's most important for me is that we're actually bringing folks who understand these issues to the table. This is a critical step forward to have consensus from MDE and state leadership, city and county to acknowledge that we need to talk about these issues and develop recommendations. I think it's a huge step forward. So if there are adjustments to the membership, I'm certainly open to that. But really, for me, the emphasis is getting consensus. What I don't want is this to become something where folks are disagreeing on the results. But certainly look forward to working with all of you through the legislative process to determine the final product.
Thank you. It was a good answer. And yep, there's a couple of water treatment plants in the area, not just Back River, but also Patapsco, which actually resides inside the city lines. I have one. I see the vice chair has a question. Delegate Jackson.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Good to see you, County Executive. Just had a question about the Office of Tourism. Is there any discussion in the upcoming budget to increase any funding for that department? Thank you.
Great question, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you. Yeah, and Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members, Abby, Vivid, man, I'm going to mess up her name.
Vitiliano.
Thank you. Is our newly promoted head of the office. She comes to us from Visit Baltimore. Really sort of smart, capable, talented leader in that space, and happy to have her talk to you about sort of where we are. We are actually, I think, recently we awarded a contract for rebranding and extensive promotional campaign for Baltimore County. So we're excited about that. I set aside additional funding for sponsorships and other recovery efforts around the tourism industry. We've got incredible assets, whether it's North County and our ag and equine industries, hundreds of miles of waterfront on the east side. We've got a really strong and robust craft brewery industry, including currently the only Guinness in the United States. But we have a great network of breweries, wineries. We actually are thinking about doing and creating like a brewery and or winery trail, sort of not unlike the bourbon trail out in Kentucky. But that's very high on our agenda, and we have been investing additional dollars, including through the American Rescue Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and thank you, Mr. County Executive. Don't see on their hands, and as we said, you have some very pressing mattars today.
Yeah, I appreciate the flexibility of this delegation. There are specific needs. I think you all know Jennifer Aosa and Amanda Carr. There may be some other folks in our office, Josh as well, but please don't hesitate to call on us if you have any legislative inquiry or if you have a district need. I hope that you find that we're responsive and want to work with you, and just appreciate this delegation. Madam Speaker, thank you for all that you do again, and just really appreciate, like, truly, the things we've been able to do would be impossible without the partnership of all of you. So,
You're quite welcome. Teamwork.
Pretty darn lucky to have a speaker among us. I don't know if you know this, Mr. County Executive, but the Baltimore County, when the speaker's standing at the podium waiting for everybody to get organized, she has to stand. And so at about 2 minutes before the hour, we stand with her and wait for her to get started because she's one of us. If she's standing, we're standing. I give Delegate Metzger credit for the creativity of that idea. So we're with her because she does a lot for us, as you say, and we're happy to have her too. So
Thank you.
very good.
all right,
Thank you all.
Mr. County Executive.
Great meeting and a great weekend. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Senators, I'm happy to have you stay on. We're going to do a little bit of our own business here, but you're welcome to stay and observe it as anybody else could on YouTube. Well, if you want to stay on this broadcast with us, you're certainly welcome to. We're going to move to voting first today because we have only one bill to hear, and that bill has 6 witnesses. And so in the interest of making sure we get to voting, we're going to be sure that we do voting first. So we're going to move to House Bill 110, property tax homeowners property tax credit. This would go to the Community Affairs. There you go, Madam Vice Chair, Madam Subcommittee Chair, that they have taken this bill up, and I believe you have a report for me on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the subcommittee is moving unfavorable. The vote was unanimous among the members present. So I move unfavorable.
Okay, we have an unfavorable move on House Bill 110. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a second. So the bill has been properly moved and seconded unfavorable. And now it's time for some commentary. And I see Delegate Shalega's hand in the air.
Thank you so much. And I want you to note that Delegate Naraki's here with me. We're having
Internet issues.
This corner of the building has no service.
Well, the county executive was struggling a little today too. There was some sort of, it sounded like he was in an echo hall of some sort. So
Yeah. And it was worse here. But I do have a question for Delegate Long. Is this bill just for seniors? I read the bill. I didn't see any age limitations. So that was my question before I vote on it, please.
Delegate
Right.
Long?
No, it was just not for seniors, but I think it's more tailored for seniors because of the fixed incomes that they're on. I think it would target them more. And just a correction, I was, anyway, I was going to ask for favorable, but I'm having the same problem as you are. My computer's not working too well this morning. But no, it's not just tailored for seniors. It's for anybody in those, wages between 60 and 72,000. It would be raised.
Did you get a fiscal note on it?
Yes, I did. And I actually tried to contact the comptroller's office. He gave me a number of how many people it made. I actually investigated what was the difference between 60 and 72. We got a number. The only problem was we could not identify who were homeowners. And so we really couldn't get a definitive answer. I just thought this, the answer, I mean, what the physical note we got, I think was out of line. But given the time limit and the restraints that we have, we cannot prove anything different. But I will work on it, and we will continue working on it. Especially in these times with inflation, like the county executive said, people are struggling week to week. This is a very timely bill, I will believe. Thank you.
What was that fiscal note, Delegate Long?
I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I will point out that when we refer to the comptroller, I think she'd use the pronoun she in this particular case. But we'll move on from there. Delegate Ruth.
Thank you so much. And I don't have that in front of me either, but I believe the fiscal note was $4.5 million. And I did just want to add that the subcommittee discussed this quite a bit. And, we feel strongly that the members of the subcommittee felt strongly that we do want to try to help people not to lose their homes because of taxes, but we felt that a more targeted approach is needed. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion unfavorable and a second, and I don't see any further comment. I'm going to do a roll call vote. And as I promised last week, to switch it up, just to warn you, Jennifer White and Kathy Shalega, we're going to be starting at the end of the alphabet on this roll call vote. But we will start off with the vice chair. Just to remind everyone, if you vote yes on this, you're voting to not have the bill move forward. It's a positive vote on not moving the bill forward. So, okay, here we go. Vice Chair Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. Delegate White.
Yes.
Delegate Shalega.
Yes.
Delegate Stein.
Yes.
Delegate Ruth. No, she's there. I see a thumbs up. I have to look up sometimes. Delegate Phillips.
Sorry, I couldn't get the mute button. Sorry.
That's all right. Delegate
yes,
Phillips. We got you. Thank you. Delegate Pasteur.
Yes.
Delegate Naraki.
Yes.
Delegate Metzger.
Yes.
Delegate McCaskill. I'll try one more time. Delegate McCaskill. All right. We'll try. I think maybe it's technical today, so we probably will come back. Delegate Mangione.
No.
No. Delegate Long. Delegate Long.
No.
No. Speaker Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer. I see you there, Delegate Grammer. If you can turn off your mute. There we go.
No.
No. Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Bendari.
Yes.
Delegate Allen.
Yes.
All right. Delegate McCaskill, we'll try one more time with you.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, now
Yeah.
we can.
Okay, I'm having connectivity issues as
Okay,
well.
so the vote is on an unfavorable motion. If you vote yes, you're voting not to carry the bill forward to the committee.
This for 110?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my vote is yes.
Okay. To my recording secretary, how many positive votes do we have on the unfavorable motion?
16 yay, and you have 3 nay.
Okay, so the unfavorable motion carries. We will not carry this bill forward to the appropriate committee. Thank you all for your vote on that. Let's move forward to House Bill 348. This is School Board Nominating Commission vacancy processes. And this one went to Education Subcommittee. So we'll turn to Subcommittee Chair Forbes on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subcommittee is moving favorable. The vote was unanimous with all members present.
Okay. I have it on the advice of a variety, a nonpartisan group of people that we could move forward. That is there a second on that favorable motion?
Second.
Thank you. I have a second, a proper second. We're not ready to vote yet because I see Delegate Shalega's hand up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Forbes, I tried to pop down and chat with you about this bill this morning, but you were in a voting session, I guess, with the Probes. So last night I chatted with the county executive about this bill, and if you look at the existing language in there, it has the portion of language about who gets to appoint to the commission. And I have the bill here somewhere on my messy desk that the governor gets 8, is that right? And the county executive gets 1. Do you know, Delegate Forbes?
Delegate Forbes, as
Yes, I haven't heard the amendment yet, but yes, that is what it is. And the 8 come from the existing legislative districts. So the governor appoints members to the nominating commission, not the school board, but the nominating commission based on the different legislative districts that are in part or whole in Baltimore County.
Well, I was wondering if you would entertain a friendly amendment to swap the governor with the county executive and give the county executive the appointing process for those members. And then doesn't the bill say the county executive gets 1 selection, and then we could give the governor 1 selection? And my rationale behind this is, the closer to the people, the better. County executive has a lot more skin in the game on the school board than the governor does. And, frankly, all of us can get to the county executive much more easily, readily than we can to the governor, to make sure the people that come from our legislative district or council district or area of the county, the people that we're working with really have a better opportunity that way. So I don't know if, what the time frame you're looking for. I understand you had the bill hearing last week, but I just thought it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't talk about doing that. I know we talked about it last year, so love your response to that, Delegate Forbes.
So I think that that's reinventing the nominating commission, and it's a different subject than this bill was to streamline the process when there's a single member vacancy. So I would ask my colleagues to resist the amendment. Additionally, I want to remind everyone that this bill passed in its current posture in 2021 on third reading, 135-0 through the House floor.
Is this going over to the Senate, or is there a cross file?
It's going over to the Senate.
Okay. All right. Well, then maybe I can work with the Senate, because I don't want to dump it. I don't want to kill the bill. That's not my objective. But
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's not my objective. But again, reading the bill, I'm like, hey, this might be an opportunity where we could also address this other issue. So I will take my concerns over to the Senate and withdraw my idea for a friendly amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Shalega. And thank you, Delegate Forbes, for both of you for the very civil and thoughtful discussion of that. So I see no more commentary on this bill. I'm going to, without objection, I'm going to call for just a voice vote or a hand raised vote on this bill. The motion is favorable and seconded, so voting for this means we will carry it through to the proper committee. All in favor of House Bill 348, please either raise your hand or say aye.
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 If anyone is opposed, and Delegate Schlegel, if you take your hand down, so I'm sure you're not one of them. And if you'd like to put your hand up if you are opposed, just so we can see you and know that you're not that you do object? Seeing no objection, this bill carries unanimously. We will send a letter on to committee and forward it. That brings us to the end of the voting portion of today's delegation meeting. We now move on to House Bill 381. Is a bill presented by Delegate Guyton. As I said, we have 6 witnesses, both in support and in opposition. And I will remind the members that this is a fact-finding period in this. We can debate it in the voting session or amongst ourselves. But if you're going to be recognized, I would certainly appreciate that you ask a question for information in this case. To those who are online here to testify, if you would keep your cameras off until you are recognized to speak. That way, the members can be kept on camera on the Zoom as much as is possible. There are fewer than 25 of us, so we can all get on one screen, and I think that's appropriate in this case. So I will now turn to Delegate Guyton, sorry, reading on my screen too much. Delegate Guyton to present House Bill 381 to the delegation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, Madam Speaker, and members of the delegation. I've had a couple of cups of coffee, but I'm still quite tired, so have mercy on me this morning. I am here to present House Bill 381 for your consideration and request a favorable report on behalf of families who are having difficulties getting the help and intervention that they believe their children need to receive a free and appropriate public education through our public school system. I'm actually second sponsor on this bill. This is a Baltimore County and Baltimore City bill. Delegate Attar is leading the charge in Baltimore City, but there are similar bills, both one presented by our illustrious chair last year in the Howard County delegation that passed the House. And there's a statewide bill this year, as well as a bill by Delegate Mike Griffith for Harford County. So there is a movement to make this change. So having a child with a disability is an incredibly stressful situation. One reason that I was very happy to carry this bill this year for the delegation is that I've been on both sides of this issue, both as a parent who's struggling through a very stressful time dealing with a child with disabilities, with a school system that I generally always have a very, very positive relationship with. But when you're fighting to get what you feel like you really need and your child deserves, it can be an incredibly tense situation. And the current resolution system, if the parents do not agree with the school system when they're requesting services for their child, is really, in my opinion, unnecessarily convoluted. It's complicated, and it is heavily weighted towards the school system. So in fact, it's actually set up that way. Many of you know I also served on the State Board of Education, so I've been on the opposite side of these disputes as well. If a family doesn't agree with the school's actions, or most of the time it's inaction by the school system to help support their child with a disability, there's a long, complicated process for appealing that decision. And once an official complaint's been filed, there's a mediation process for resolution. This is important. There are only a very, very few complaints that progress past this point, right? We are talking about a handful, approximately only 1 to 3% of complaints end up in due process hearing, which is what we're talking about today, in front of an administrative law judge for a ruling. That is sort of the next to last case scenario for these situations. You will hear today that changing the law to make it the responsibility of the school system rather than the student's parents to prove that they're not doing something, rather, I'm sorry, I'm so sleepy, is going to cause a lot more work for the school system. In fact, we are talking about 1 to 2 cases a year that are actually being heard at this level. So I just want to clear that up front. So under current law, the system is stacked against the child and the child's family because it is the responsibility of the parents or guardian to prove to the administrative law judge that their child is not receiving a free and appropriate public education. instead of being the responsibility of the school system to prove that they are providing adequate support to the child. So in reality, that's almost impossible for parents to do. To make it more difficult, the school system is represented by a bevy of very capable lawyers who are specialists in this area, while the majority of families going through this process are under stress, don't have the means to hire these sorts of experts, and don't have the option to learn special education law to support their children. And in fact, just to prove the need for this change, between 2018 and 2022, which is the last data that's published on the Maryland State Department of Education website, only once did an administrative law judge rule in favor of the student or the family. Okay. In Baltimore County particularly, here are just a few of the rulings. Again, there are only a couple a year. In 2021, it says the ALJ, the administrative law judge, determined not enough sufficient evidence to support the parent's assertion that the school system has not provided the student with a FAPE, free and appropriate public information. Therefore, due process complaint was denied. In 2020, same thing. The ALJ determined the parent did not demonstrate that the school system failed to provide the student with a free and public education. Therefore, due process complaint was denied. 2019, these are all Baltimore County cases, and you can actually read them redacted on the website. ALJ ruled in favor of the school system and dismissed the parent's due process complaints. This is what happens. In addition, it is very hard to prove a negative, right? So this is putting the onus on learning special education law on parents who don't have those sorts of resources. So to make matters worse, while a family can appeal these decisions, and again, it's only a few families we're talking about, to the State Board of Education, members are instructed, because of the way that the law is written, to always give deference to the ALJ's ruling and to the local board decisions. So this bill simply shifts this burden of proof from the student's family to the school system during this complaint due process hearing. So it requires that the local school system to be responsible for demonstrating what they are doing and what they should be doing, and that the educational plan that they have in place for their student offers the student a free and appropriate public education. If they can't do so, and if they are doing this, they should be able to do so, because everything in special education law is very prescribed. They will need to remedy the situation. So I have several witnesses, and I ask that you both excuse my tiredness this morning. I've already described why that is, but also give us a favorable report on House Bill 381. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Guyton. Delegate Carn, I see your hand, but we're going to let the two supporting witnesses talk, and then maybe the questions would be answered by either the sponsor or one of those two, depending on the nature of it. So I want to warn witnesses that we have a 2-minute limit on your time to testify. So keep an eye on your watch. We have to keep things moving along. I'd like to call Julie Zielinski first to testify. Turn your camera on and take off.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of this bill. I really appreciate that, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll be brief and to the point. My name is Julie Zielinski. I am a parent of a 12th grade Baltimore County student who has an IEP. And what I wanted to say is, in my support of my son, we've had to file for due process on 2 different occasions. And in that process, I discovered many of the barriers that Delegate Guyton described for families advocating for their child. Like most people, I had zero knowledge of the process in advance. It's an incredibly intimidating process. It's extremely costly in terms of time and money. And as she mentioned, families with children with disabilities do not have extra time and money. That is long gone, regardless of what your situation. And knowing how difficult it is to get even to court and how expensive that is, that's a barrier right there, because as a family, we could not even foresee getting to that point, and yet we felt the need to advocate in this way for our child. Just briefly, we filed twice in 2015 for our son to get approved for the IEP, and then again in 2019 to have him retain his place in the magnet program. Once we realized the normal appeals process would never be adequate or quick enough for our child to get what he needed. In some ways, we're advantaged in this situation in that we have one child. We speak English. We have flexible work hours. We have the ability to learn the system and navigate it because we do when so many parents don't. Disadvantage, we're self-employed. We're a low-income family. The process caused enormous financial stress on our family and the time. And as a business person, lost time is lost revenue, lost business opportunity. I cannot even quantify the 100 hours that I spent on that, the money I did not have then going forward for my family. It's, as I said, it's extremely expensive. Even to file, I immediately needed to provide a $5,000 retainer to a lawyer that bills at $500 an hour. And I had to borrow that from my mother because that is not money that is sitting in my house ever. So in addition, had we gone forward, we have had to get experts to come in and do evaluations of our son, consultants. Had we gone to trial, we would have needed to pay them as well. And the truth of the matter is, if we had not been able to settle this through mediation, which we did settle to our favor, there is no way we could have taken this to trial. We can't even imagine such a thing. So we feel like this financial burden is unfair to families that are simply trying to advocate for their children so they get their right to an education. Thank you.
Could you summarize in a sentence, please, for me?
The financial cost associates with assuming the burden of proof severely limits equitable access for families seeking to exercise their legal rights for their children.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your testimony. Also,
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Also testifying in support is Katie McGuire. Katie, are you there? If you would turn on your camera and give us a couple of minutes of testimony, please.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. My name is Katie McGuire. I'm the Chief Advancement Officer for the ARC Baltimore. The ARC Baltimore was founded in 1949 by a group of parents and who wanted a better life for their children. And this was when they were not entitled to public education. We've come a long way in 75 years, and today we serve over 1,000 people who live and work and play in Baltimore City and Baltimore County. IDA is the federal law that requires the provision of special education through an IEP process. Currently in Maryland, unlike in some other states, the burden of proof is when the IEP may fail the child, the burden of proof falls to the parent. Having a child with a disability, as you just heard, can really be a challenge, to say the least. And we have an outreach department that responds to literally thousands of calls a year from parents who are looking for resources, for financial help, for advice, for resources, and for advocacy and support groups. It just goes on and on. Years ago, we used to be able to have an advocate go with parents on special education meetings, and we don't have that capacity anymore, but it really shouldn't even be necessary. The burden of proof should not be on the family, but on the school system. Parents of children with disabilities often have less resources, as again described, and they don't have the resources to pay for counsel or to get experts. They don't have the same access to documents as the school does. And often we hear from parents that they don't feel heard in the IEP meeting, that they feel intimidated in those meetings by the professionals in the room. The school system has the obligation to provide the appropriate education and to show the effectiveness of their actions. So it makes sense to place the burden of proof in a due process proceeding on the school, and that would balance the power in these IEP disputes. So HB 381 would level the playing field for parents and children with disabilities, as well as serve as a model for other counties. So I urge you to support the delegation to support HB 381.
Thank you. Okay, so these are the sponsor and those in support. Delegate Cardin, would you like to ask a question, please?
Yeah, just real quick, and I don't know, Michelle, Delegate Guyton, you might know this or you may not, but I recall this bill being in probably 15 years ago with same issues. In fact, we heard war stories from another county just to the south of us, bordering the north side of Washington, DC. And it was a statewide bill. I'm wondering why we're talking county and not state.
I can
Yeah,
answer that.
thank you for that question. I think that's a great question. For that exact reason, I believe, is the thinking behind this. We have multiple county bills going in this year. One of the county bills got to the House last year, but didn't make it through the Senate. And I believe that in case there is opposition for the state bill, we want to be able to make these decisions for our local school systems and our constituents. So
To clarify, Delegate Cardin, there is a statewide bill right now
Yes.
being considered in Ways and Means. Any other questions for the panel of the sponsor or those in support? Okay, then we're going to move on to those who oppose the bill. We will start off with Lloyd Allen from Tabco. 2 minutes, please, Mr. Allen. If you turn on your camera, there you are, and give us your testimony.
Good morning, Delegate Guyton, Chair Ebersole, Vice Chair Jackson, Speaker Jones, and members of the delegation. Thank you for your time. I'm Lloyd Allen, he, him, special educator in mathematics, a member of the Tabco board, but speaking as an individual in opposition to House Bill 381. Having spent about half of my 23-year career in education as a special educator, I strongly believe in identifying and meeting the needs of students with disabilities. To improve conditions for students with disabilities, please increase the resources that are available to serve them. Resources include personnel, sufficient and appropriate space for the provision of services, programmatic support for personnel, and most importantly, time. With staffing shortages making headlines at the beginning of each academic year, it is clear that there is a need for more personnel. According to the fiscal and policy note for similar House Bill 294, to the extent that the bill increases the number of due process complaints and due process hearings, local expenditures, including attorney fees, may increase through FY 2026. This bill may impose a mandate on a unit of local government. What is not listed in those local expenditures is the time that the particular special educator who is the case manager will spend with their IEP chair, who is often also a teacher-level special educator who often provides direct services to students, preparing for and actually engaging in the due process hearing. Time spent prepping for and engaging in a due process hearing is time spent not pulling students to provide service, planning for and providing instruction to students who are removed from general education due to significant need, assisting other teachers with making their lessons accessible, or providing other case management services to students on our caseloads. These students whose education will be neglected include the student who is the object of the due process complaint. I do earnestly believe in serving students and in following appropriate guidelines to protect students and their parents. We help parents to understand the rights and responsibilities outlined in the packet that they're offered at each and every meeting, and the team notes given at the end of each team provide parents with neutral resources to help them to understand their rights. When we have open and honest communication between teachers, parents, and students, those are the conditions under which we are most likely to be able to identify the students' true needs and then to meet them. Please support students with disabilities by funding education, by improving conditions in order to direct staff to deliver services, not with this bill, which will decrease the amount of time that special educators have to actually serve students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen. Next, we have Edward Kitlowski. Edward, if you turn on your camera and give us a good 2 minutes there.
Good morning. My name is Edward Kitlowski. I'm a retired Baltimore County special education teacher, spent over 30 years in the classroom. I was also an IEP chairman at 2 schools. And most of what Mr. Allen said, I would also support, in that I think there's more resources. I'm not in favor of the bill because I don't think it really addresses what the issue is. My experience in the schools was that there really was a de facto manner of operation that we always had to prove that what we were doing was making a difference. The hearings that I went to were, not numerous, because most of the time Baltimore County would comply with what the parent requested. My question then is, if, we're talking about parents going into these meetings not knowing, there's nothing in this bill that will address that. In one of the hearings where it's 294, it was stated that New Jersey and New York both did this. Well, New Jersey also created a public advocate to help the parents. There's nothing in this bill to do that. You know, as a special education teacher and parent advocate, I understand that there are problems in special ed. A lot of these problems go beyond what the school system does. And I don't see this bill addressing the problems. I think we need to look at what the genuine, problems are and address them. To me, this bill is like a bill passing a warning label on the cigarettes to think that that's going to reduce smoking.
Mr. Chair, you're muted.
I was trying to keep an eye on that. Thank you so much. Next, we have Cindy Sexton. Cindy Sexton, if you would turn your camera and give us a couple of minutes of testimony, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Many of you have heard me speak, and you know that my priority is recruiting and retaining educators. We aren't doing a great job of that in BCPS, unfortunately. We know there's a national shortage, so we need to do more to get them to BCPS and to keep them. Special ed is the #1 shortage area in the country. In fact, the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects the needs for more than 37,000 new special ed teachers between 2020 and 2030. In BCPS, we have lost 25 special educators to resignations since the beginning of this school year alone. That's about one every week, and there were already openings. And more than half of those 25 had less than 1 year with our system. The workload for our special education teachers is untenable. There is one teacher I know well who has a caseload of 23 students and goes to 8 to 10 schools every single week to service them. The paperwork gets done on their own time. Untenable. And that is just one teacher. What we need is more people, more teachers, finding a way to fill the open positions we have. We need clerical support for data collection and entry, IEP chairs, more people. And this bill will drive those people away. It doesn't provide the resources for our students. It takes time and resources from them. And while I understand the desire to do more for our students, this is not the solution. If it doesn't drive teachers completely out of the profession, it will certainly drive them out of special ed. So my summing up, our students need educators, working with them, providing direct instruction, supports, and resources. This bill will be the opposite, and I ask that we find a better way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sexton. I appreciate your testimony. And finally, we have Ms. Allison Myers. Ms. Myers, if you turn on your camera and ramp us up for a couple of minutes here.
Good morning, Chair Ebersol, Vice Chair Jackson, Speaker Jones, and delegation. It's an honor and privilege to be here today. My name is Allison Myers, and I'm the Executive Director of Special Education in Baltimore County. I'm speaking today to share our opposition to Bill 381. As I've indicated in my submitted statement, Baltimore County puts the highest priority on ensuring our students receive high-quality special ed services. As you know, special ed services are individualized for our students. When a child is identified as eligible for these services, the development of the IEP is done in collaboration with families, teachers, administrators, and related service providers being equal participants. We honor and value the family's unique perspective and knowledge of their child in this process. We do understand there are times when disputes may surface. We as a school system are committed to working collaboratively with families to resolve these issues. However, when they arise, federal and state laws provide parents the full protections of a state-regulated dispute resolution process, in addition to access to the due process hearing. When a mediation or due process request is filed, Baltimore County immediately begins investigating those concerns. We attend those mediations as part of the dispute resolution process because we care about our students and want to avoid a family feeling the need to move forward with the due process hearing. The majority of cases are resolved either prior to mediation or at mediation, and correct, a very small number of cases move forward to the hearing. We would anticipate an increase in these cases with the shift in burden. There are potential unintended consequences of shifting the burden of proof, including that increase in cost, time, and the resulting delay in students receiving the services they need until the dispute is resolved. Staff will spend more time in due process proceedings, removing them from providing services to students. Additionally, in a profession which is already in critical shortage, the added stress this shift in burden may cause will undoubtedly lead to increased number of special educators and related service providers deciding to leave or not entering that field of public education. In closing, I want to reiterate that our system is committed to providing appropriate special ed services and to working collaboratively with families to ensure that the educational needs of our students are being met. But we do oppose that shifting and burden approved to school systems in cases concerning the delivery of services under the student's IEP. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony. That concludes the 4 witnesses in opposition. Are there any questions for those witnesses? Okay, seeing none, that brings us to the end of our hearing on House Bill 381. I have one last bit of business today. I'd like to recognize Delegate Shalega for just a bit of information and initiative she's taking. Oh, she told me I see her there. Delegate Shalega, are you there? I see your name. All right, we may have to do this one by email to you and let you know what she's thinking, because she did have a meeting, I know, at 10 o'clock, and it just timed out perfectly or imperfectly for her. Delegate Naraki, I see you trying to get my attention.
Yeah, I think she is. I think she's on a call right now. I could hear her next door talking.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to hold everybody for this, but we'll try to communicate. We'll let her try to communicate, or we'll just wait till next week. I know it just worked out. I knew she had a 10 o'clock thing going on. I was hopeful the timing would work out there. Looks like it's just a little bit of a bad luck for her on this one. I'm not sure why, but I hope it's a point of information. Jen Aosa.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and Madam Speaker. I wanted to recognize that a few of the delegation members have asked for some additional information regarding the Baltimore City and Baltimore County Water Task Force legislation.
Yes.
And so I wanted to let you all know, with the chair's permission, we have developed a brief one-pager. I'd like to share it with Justin for distribution to delegation members, as well as the Senate delegation. And I wanted to just suggest that if anyone has any questions on the one pager or the legislation, to please let us know, and we would be happy to answer any questions or concerns that you might have.
Thank you. And while we're talking about sending things to Justin that he can send out, I've had 2 requests for the slide deck that the county executive provided us. You don't have to send it to everybody. You can send it to Justin and he'll disseminate it so people can have a look at it if they like.
Yes, sir. We'd be happy to do that.
Well, thank you very much. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order, I'm going to move that this meeting be, Delegate Vice Chair Jackson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to remind the members of the ad hoc committee that we will be meeting via Zoom directly after session this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Anybody else for the good of the order? All right, then, without objection, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much. Very civil discussion today. I appreciate everybody's attitude and input. And